It's my honor to introduce Alexis Tsipras, President of SYRIZA, to the Graduate Center of the City University of New York.
Hello, and thank you very much for coming in this cold night in New York, snowy night. I want to apologize for my accent. I'll try to speak in English, and I'll try to do the best I can do. So, first of all, I want to say that it's a great honor for me to be among you today. I'm coming from the country which has chosen as the guinea pig the testing tube in the so-called attempt of the European Union leadership to resolve the economic crisis. Greece is experiencing these past years the biggest humanitarian crisis that any country has ever experienced under peace conditions. In my country, the people of lower incomes that have not created the crisis are paying for it. Workers are losing their jobs and their income is being dramatically decreased. Young people of an educated and skilled generation are migrating. Pensioners are watching their standards of living going back to that they had when they were young children. 2.5 years of the implementation of the memorandum have rendered Greece into a desert country. We are already on the 5th year of recession for the Greek economy. This is an unprecedented economic and social tragedy in Europe, and I believe that this is an unprecedented economic and social tragedy in whole Europe, post-war history. The GDP fell by 25%. The poverty level climbed from 23% of the population in 2008 to 30% in 2012. The unemployment rate rose from 7.8% in 2008 to 30% within 2012. At the same time, the new liberals say that the crisis is a big opportunity. But the question is, opportunity for whom? The answer is a big opportunity for the rich to become even richer, a big opportunity to eliminate labor rights conquered a century ago, a big opportunity for private capital, local as well as global, a big opportunity for private capital to obtain the public wealth and the public space. I'm here upon you representing the European left, not only SYRIZA, not only the Greek left, but also the European left, because our party, SYRIZA, is a member of European Left Party. So please allow me to support the idea that we have been utterly vindicated for our predictions of the crisis. And I believe that this is something that no one can ignore any longer. In contrast, Europe's dominant political powers that handle the economic crisis with political tools of fiscal and extreme austerity in context of dogmatism and over-conservatism relevant to that of the Tea Party have felt miserable. Europe and the USA since 2008 were found in the middle of a huge economic crisis. However, in Europe, they selected a solution which is in fact no solution. This is why that besides the countries of the South, today it is also the countries of the North that feel the threat of the recession and the economic crisis. Finally, it's not the peculiarities of the South which are responsible for the crisis. It's the medicine which is wrong. The recipe of memorandums, the recipe of austerity, internal devaluation, priority to the banks and not the people of work, loans in order to repay loans, demolition of the welfare state is the wrong recipe, which can cause a domino effect not only in Greece and not only within Europe. Dear friends, the painful example of Greece allows me to say that we are experiencing an economic war against society, against growth, employment, against democracy. Just yesterday, the Greek government enforced civil conscription using an unconstitutional law remaining from the military dictatorship period against the strikers. The shock doctrine in full implementation. In this time of economic crisis, the general sense of justice must be strengthened, together with a strengthening of institutions and democracy itself. Otherwise, there is the risk that the governance will pass into the hands of an economic elite. There is also the risk of provoking the rise of dangerous neo-Nazi beliefs. The result will be the same: less democracy, less education, less freedom. The response of the left is different, is the opposite. More democracy, more freedom, more education, and more Europe. All this time that the economic crisis is devouring Europe, many accused us as being an anti-European and for supporting the return in our national currency. This is not true. We are the real European party because we want to protect Europe of the austerity that creates disaster, because we want to protect social cohesion, solidarity, democracy, and the principles and values of equality. This is the real, the true European principles, if we want to have the idea of a European Union. Our alternative strategy, the alternative strategy of SYRIZA, is based in 3 pillars. Let me analyze these 3 pillars. First pillar is an immediate termination of austerity. Instead of imposing pro-cyclical cuts to the lower incomes, we propose that Greece should reach a primary surplus by increasing tax revenue and spending to the European average. The rich and the tax evaders must pay their share of taxes. Second pillar is the idea of a European debt conference for a collective European solution for the European debt problem, and more precisely for Greece, annulment of a large part of the debt with a development clause, growth clause for its payment. SYRIZA has suggested the calling of a European conference, a European summit on the debt in order to regulate collectively and once and for all the debt crisis in the Eurozone based on the London conference, the London summit in 1953 for Germany's debt. This is the only realistic as well as beneficial solution for everyone. For the taxpayers as well as the creditor countries, so that the taxpayers stop throwing their savings in a barrel without bottom, which has been opened by the austerity measures in the indebted countries. This solution could tackle the increase of the public debt across the Eurozone as the unsuccessful and, above all, destructive austerity policy has rendered Greece's public debt not viable and out of any control. 2013 will not be the last year of recession for Greece, as claimed by the Greek government and the Troika lenders. In its report last December, the prestigious Kiel Institute of the World Economy reconciled economics with common logic by predicting a recession of 1% rate for 2014, not 2013, for the next year, and unemployment in 2014, 31%, the official unemployment. As the recession will have completed in 2014, 7 consecutive full years, and the annulment of a big part of the nominal value of the debt is not only inevitable, but it's the indispensable condition in order to get our country out of recession and spark the economic recovery. Greece is being today between corruption and poverty. They are overtaxing those whose incomes have been reduced 2 and 3 times. It is indicative that they increased in October the tax for the heating oil. This is a good example to understand how paranoid is their policy and how unsuccessful is their policy. They think that by putting taxes, they will have bigger revenues. But if you put taxes to someone who had no opportunity to pay, you don't take money. This is the real truth. So this is the example of what they did in October. They increased the taxes in the heating oil by 40%. And what happened? What was the result? People stopped buying heating oil, and they tried to heat their homes by everyone else solution they had. So Greece is back in 1950s, namely wood stoves and fireplaces. So I believe that this was a good example to explain to you why this program is a dead end and doesn't work. So, our third pillar of our proposals is about the structural reforms, for the progressive reform of the tax system, the reform of the public administration, the change of the political system. They accuse SYRIZA that SYRIZA is against the structural reforms. It is not true. But we don't believe that the structural reforms could be done by them. By them, the political system, who create this corruption complex, who create this corruption political system. So, every day that passed is a day that brings into light the real role of the three-party government, of memorandum of the three-party government of Antonis Samaras. They are trying with all their powers to cover that they can the corruption scandals to which they are connected themselves, to cover their responsibilities in these scandals. And I believe that, first of all, they try to protect the oligarchy, which is being evading taxes and transferring its funds out of Greece. Dear friends, just a few days ago, the International Monetary Fund admitted that there has been a mistake in a multiplier. It's something like, I don't know a lot of mathematics, but it's a multiplier of create recession. They couldn't analyze and they couldn't calculate how big will be the recession. So it's a polite way of saying that the economic recovery plan has blatantly failed. And unfortunately, it has multiplied crisis, poverty, and recession. This program cannot be just admitted as a failure. One must change it from the beginning to the end. I'm not saying that Greece was a model country. On the contrary, it was run by a triangle of political and economic power consisted by the political parties, media, and banks that dissolved its productive base, borrowed and invested in the stock market, supported the big capital, and spawned huge scandals. All these were covered up. This is the situation we want to overturn. This is the policy we want to change. That is why we are being characterized as dangerous from conservative circles. But I have the same question. Dangerous for whom? Dangerous for the citizens, dangerous for the people, or dangerous for the speculators, for the financial markets? Dangerous for Mrs. Merkel. So, the conservative circle says that we are dangerous because we are stating the obvious, because we say that the memorandum recession and austerity is opposed to the laws of economics, is opposed to the laws of humanism. SYRIZA's radical left politics is not about getting Greece out of the Eurozone, and they know that well, but they say that we are dangerous. Yes, we are dangerous for this strategy. Our radical left labels signifies that we are ready to radically reform the state in order to create a stable environment of justice, redistribution of wealth, and investment. It signifies that we will demand a new deal for Europe that mobilizes our contingents, productive capacities against want, against poverty, and against hopelessness. It signifies that the neoliberal memorandum is finished that the neoliberal memorandum is dead. And it's time for Greek, European, and global reconstruction plan that puts people over profits. Some people used to ask me, can you convince Mrs. Merkel to change strategy? I'm not sure that I will convince her, but I'll try to do. I reply, we the Greeks can convince Europe, people of Europe, not Mrs. Merkel. Because we are not the one and only nation to undergo the knife of austerity. We were initially used as the guinea pig. We now stand as an example, as a paradigm. People in Spain, in Italy, Portugal, look upon Greece and see pictures of their own future. That is why, if things change in Greece, the whole European picture will change. Austerity, if you have a political change in Greece, austerity will be questioned in the heart of Europe and in whole Europe. And the need for the new fundamentals of the European Union will be hard to deny. Dear friends, we have to prove altogether that all the disasters humanity has lived in the past and that we have made us become wiser. So thank you for hearing me. Thank you that you tried to understand what I said. And I hope that we have a common interest. So if we have common interests, we have a common language. Thank you very much.